January the 8th, 2016. Guys, thanks for coming over and supporting this backup channel. I appreciate that a lot more than you realize. Let me say this. There's not a lot of information coming out of the refuge outside of Bend, Oregon, about the standoff between Bundy and the Patriots there and the local sheriff's department. I'm sure there's other agencies involved. This has to do with the sheriff, and I'm sure that he's in some ways following orders higher up, even though he really is the top official in the county there. I think his word is supposed to go. But you've got to realize that over these years, and this was part of the plan, as ranch after ranch fell, and they fell to the Bureau of Land Management. And it's taken quite a toll on the county. When the process started years ago, it was the #1 county in the state as far as economics. Now it is at the bottom of the list because people have been forced out. The people that were there taking care of the land and making a living and hiring local people. But what happened in that area of Bend is a lot of these people took jobs with the government because you had this extremely large wildlife management area and other government jobs, but Bureau of Land Management, Game and Fish, things like that. So they gave the local jobs, think about this, to these people that had been put out of work. Many of them, their land had been taken. So now they feel not necessarily a blood loyalty, but a financial loyalty because they don't want to lose their jobs, into promoting the anti-standoff, especially from the town there in Bend. Now, one of the guys that came in was a local rancher, and I saw this report. And he said he just wanted to let people know that they had no fear of the group at the refuge. As a matter of fact, he said their school was just down the road. It wasn't 30 miles away in Bend where the other schools are closed. He said they reopened last Tuesday. He said the thing in town was a fear that had been spread to promote a negative attitude toward the Patriots, again, at the refuge. Think about that. We understand how that works. Now, also, there was a report that all the roads were closed in and out, but now that's for supplies. What they, again, from checking different reports, roads are open daily to the locals and the press. No supplies in or out. So be aware of that. There's no way you're going to go in there unless you're the press. If these reports, and the one was a video report, are correct, you're not going to take supplies in there. What has changed is yesterday, for the first time, the local sheriff and Bundy met head-to-head. There did not end with an agreement at that meeting, but they had said they would get back together today, which is Friday the 8th. But it's interesting the way yesterday's meeting went down. They didn't tell a lot of people about it. There was not a lot of press there. It wasn't the Al Jazeera English, the CNN, people like that, Fox, BBC, I think, are there with the big trucks. Again, they are more, I think, in a suppressive media stance, other than some of these local feeds, some of the people that are on there and just kind of tell it like it is. But it says that Bundy and the sheriff met Thursday in an effort to resolve the situation peacefully. The meeting ended without an agreement, but the two will again talk today. Now, here's how it went down. The sheriff walks up. He says, "I'm here to escort you safely out of town." This is Harney County Sheriff David Ward. He told Bundy that at a rendezvous on a desolate road 20 minutes away from the refuge. And he said the sheriff came with a small tactical team. You would expect that. The two met on the side of the road for about 5 minutes, then shook hands and agreed to talk again on Friday. Remember, guys, it's snow-covered there and very cold. At some point, this all has to be resolved, said the sheriff. Let's get the community back to normal before everything gets out of hand. Bundy replied by asking the sheriff to address the land use issue at the heart of the controversy with the federal government that has led to the occupation, to which Ward replied that this is not his jurisdiction. Bundy said that he would stand his ground. after which the men shook hands, parted ways, agreeing to speak again by telephone. Now, that's today, so today's meeting will not be face-to-face. Now, before this meeting, Bundy and the men there said they would present a set of demands by today. This is Friday again on the 8th. Guys, and to credit this, it has done a lot of good, because I'm going to end this video by letting you listen to some of what happened on C-SPAN yesterday when the senator from Oregon stood up there at the Senate in D.C. And again, it needed to be brought up. We'll see what happens as a result of this senator's speech. But I'm going to put clips in there, guys. It's a heads up. Again, thank you for the support on this channel. The reason that the channel right now is disabled, I cannot go in there to comment. I can't get my emails. I can't upload a video. Can't check anything in any of my systems there, is because Google said because of unusual activity about 3 nights ago that they had temporarily disabled it. And you know that we've been being hacked, and during that night, and I'm not blaming Google or YouTube for this, because they were aware that I'd been hacked. We had been going back and forth for days about it. They had again found suspicious activity, and what had happened, if you go back, someone had started in 2012 and started erasing videos from the beginning. Remember, the first hit, they took all the 2015s down. So when Google saw that movement, they disabled my ability to go there. Now, I would like to get that back, all of my emails, all of my contacts with you guys, everything's there. I can't touch it, but they are saying be patient. We're working on it. So that's what I'm doing, and I appreciate your support here. Again, check out what the senator has to say. It's a heads up. Be safe.
It happens when overzealous bureaucrats and agencies go beyond the law and clamp down on people. I have seen what courts have done, and I have seen the time for Congress to act, and then it has not. Homestead wildfire in 2012 burned 160,000 acres, mostly in this county, if not all, 250 square miles, quarter the size of the state of Rhode Island. That was just in 2012. The Berry Point fire that year in Lake County next door burned 93,000 acres. Last summer alone, we burned 799,974 acres across Oregon. That's both forest and high desert. 2012, 3.4 million acres burned in Oregon. There was another fire in Malheur County, the Long Draw fire in 2012 burned 557,000 acres, 5 times the size of Rhode Island. So 93,000 acres, 557,000 acres, 160,000 acres, all burning. The Hammonds are in prison tonight for setting a backfire that they admit to that burned 139 acres. And they will sit in prison, time served and time going forward, 5 years.
Wow.
Under a law that I would argue was never intended to mete out that kind of punishment. That burn naturally. I haven't gotten into the discussion about how these fires are often fought and how the federal government frequently will go on private land and set a fire without permission to back burn. That happens all the time. In fact, in the Berry Point fire down in Lake County, they set fire on private timberland as a backburn while the owners of the property were putting out spot fires down in the canyon. I drove down there afterwards. They're darn lucky to have come out alive. There's nobody sentenced under the Terrorism Act there. Oh, heck no. It's the government. I can tell you a few years back in Harney County, because I went and held a meeting out there right as the fire was being put out, that the fire crews came in, went on private ground, lit a backfire on private ground behind a fence line that then burned out the farmer's fence, the rancher's fence, and burned all the way over and down into a canyon where there was a wetland, which would have been the natural break to stop the fire from the other side. You see, they never needed to burn that land. These things happen in the course of fighting fire. Doesn't mean they're right, but rare is it that somebody ends up 5 years in prison to reinterpret it. And the first thing they tried to do is shut down this kids' running camp because they said, well, too many, maybe more than 20, run down this canyon back up, as they had for many, many years. So they wanted to shut it down. So we had to fight them back, said, no, the law says historical standards. See, the bureaucracy wants to interpret the laws we write in ways they want, despite the fact we created the first cow-free wilderness in the United States under this law, and said clearly in this law that it would be the responsibility of the government to put up fencing to keep the cows out as part of the agreement. The Bureau of Land Management said, no, we're not going to follow that law, and they told a rancher they had to build a fence. I networked with my Democrat colleague, Mr. DeFazio from Oregon, who was part of writing this law. I said, Peter, you remember that, right? He said, yeah, I didn't like it, but that was the case. BLM still wouldn't listen.